Hello, my name is Eric Holmberg. I'm a conservative independent who has voted for the Republican nominee for president in every election since I could vote. But I'm almost certainly not going to vote for Mitt Romney if he's nominated. In this video, I want to explain why. First, some context. I'm a Christian, the head of an apologetics ministry, and someone who takes the Great Commission, the charge to disciple nations with the Word of God, very seriously. That means, among other things, that I pay close attention to the political process, vote, and have at times worked for specific issues and candidates. I also believe in incrementalism, that change often comes in small steps, as well as the need to, in many cases, vote for the lesser of two evils. I'm not someone, in other words, who demands the whole enchilada right up front. So, for example, when I lived in Florida during the 2000 Bush-Gore presidential election, when literally every vote in Florida really mattered, I resisted the purest temptation and the cajoling of a number of Christian friends to cast my vote for the far better third-party candidate, Howard Phillips, whose worldview is closely aligned with mine, but who had no chance of winning. Instead, I held my nose and voted for George W. That's right. I'm the infamous voter zero that gave America 8 years of Karl Rove tinkering under the hood with America's engine. Sorry about that, though I remain convinced that Gore would have been an even bigger disaster. Today I'm pretty much a member of the ABO club, anybody but Obama. But I suddenly find myself in a strange predicament. If Mitt Romney becomes the Republican nominee, as many predict, I will have no choice, if I'm to remain true to my deepest convictions, but to write in another candidate's name, or to vote for Ron Paul should he decide to run third party, which I doubt he will. Now why? Would Romney be worse from a strict policy standpoint than George W., for whom I voted? No, indeed, he might prove to be slightly better. And wouldn't Romney be way better than Obama, again from a strictly policy perspective? Well, it would be almost impossible for him not to be. Then why in heaven wouldn't I vote for Mitt? Well, in a word, Mormonism. Now, before you write me off as a religious bigot, let me explain. One of the problems today is that Americans have been conditioned by decades of creeping statism, the growth of big government hand in hand with the chipping away of the Constitution, and we now vest far too much power in the presidency. Truthfully, under the system our founders established, the bulk of political power was relegated to the states. In other words, your governor, mayor, even your sheriff normally affected your day-to-day life more than the President of the United States. Thinking Americans, and especially Christians, need to get our minds right and focus again on our respective states. We need to tell the would-be emperors in Washington, hey, you're not wearing any clothes. And then once again start vigorously defending our true head of government, the Constitution. We can never win back our country or save her from the abyss into which she's now free-falling until we begin to think and act like our founders and refuse to allow the current crop of statists to keep redefining the terms of political debate and the rules of engagement. So what does this have to do with Romney and Mormonism? Well, here's what. Under the Constitution, the president is, more than anything else, a symbol, a paterfamilias, the head of the American family. He represents us before nations and, most importantly, before the throne of heaven. That's why he, his wife, and kids are called the first family. Now he has other powers as well, most notably as the commander-in-chief. But central to all of them is his role as a ceremonial head of state, empowered to stand behind what Teddy Roosevelt called the bully pulpit. Now, for 223 years and 44 elections, virtually every president has been a professing Christian and associated, albeit sometimes loosely, with the Catholic, by which I mean universal, church. Certainly many of them were not truly converted, and many privately held to heterodox ideas concerning Christian doctrine. But when they placed their hand on the Bible to take their oath of office, there was no other book to choose. It was the one they all held in common and it provided at least an approximate alignment with the tenets of Orthodox Christianity and the flow of Christian history.
Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand and repeat after me.
44 presidents and 223 years. With all due respect to Governor Romney, who apparently is a good man, a faithful husband and father, and a very capable businessman, his presidency would be a sharp departure from this tradition. For the first time, America would be placing before our nation, the world, and the throne of God, a member of a group that the church historically has classified as a cult, one that completely denies and in fact opposes several of the most important articles of Christian orthodoxy. There's no other way to say it, as politically incorrect it may sound, or as bigoted as it will be perceived by the majority of Americans, most of whom have succumbed to the false comforts of relativism, universalism, and religious syncretism. Mormonism is not only not a brand of Christianity, it is inherently and fundamentally an anti-Christian religion. Yet Governor Romney has repeatedly said that it's a very important aspect of his life. So what's the big deal if he's a member of a non-traditional so-called cult? Well, I can just hear Hannity, Limbaugh, and Levin, men that I appreciate, by the way, particularly Mark Levin, asking people like me that question. At least he's better than Obama when it comes to economy, foreign policy, the growth of government, the destruction of the Constitution, making slaves of the poor, killing the preborn, and normalizing homosexuality. You've got to go with the only electable alternative to Obama. Come on, be pragmatic about this, Eric. But that's just the point. I am being pragmatic about it. I'm factoring into my analysis a dimension of reality that many people today completely ignore. A dimension that has far greater implications for our economy and these other issues that many people, soaked to the bone in philosophical materialism, can understand. And that is the realm from which, according to Jesus' final earthly pronouncement, all power and all authority ultimately flow. That is the spiritual world. So to send a member of an anti-Christian cult, one that actually teaches, for example, that Jesus and Satan were brothers, to represent our American family before the King of heaven and earth, well, I just can't do that in good faith. And I know many other conservatives, the truest form of conservatives, who can as well. While we're still in the primary season, it's my prayer that Christians consider this hard reality prayerfully and then help nominate a candidate who can place his hand on the Bible and not invite a whole new level of divine judgment. And here's a warning to the Republican aristocracy in Washington. If you continue to push to pimp Mitt Romney as your hand-picked nominee and actually succeed in getting him on the ballot, this is one Christian videographer and publicist who's worked with you in the past who will be casting his vote elsewhere. By the way, if you're confused about Mormonism and you view it, as so many today do, as just another denomination within Christianity, there are several excellent DVDs available that can better inform you on the subject. Just click on the links in the information box below to order. As for comments and even hate mail, bring it on. I'll still sleep well tonight.